Welcome to the NBA Pub Hub, Pub Sports Radio, Friday, February the 3rd. Ian Cameron, Skee Prophet, Billy Briz, as your usual Friday group here with you on the NBA Pub Hub, ready to break down the Friday slate on a day where the NBA world is abuzz with Kyrie Irving's trade demands, wanting out from Brooklyn, wanting to be dealt before the deadline approaches. So now we get a week, endless chatter of where he's going to go, where he might go. Obviously, you've got the Lakers, the Heat, the Suns, the Mavericks, teams of that magnitude in the mix, the favorites to land Kyrie Irving in a trade. Speculate all you want. I mean, they just played, of course, with the Lakers. There's people that will link that to LeBron getting in his ear saying, hey, come on back to L.A. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out, but certainly that's the big news of the day. But we're here to talk betting, and we do have a bunch of games tonight on this Friday slate, 8 games on tap. So let's get into it. We'll start with Charlotte taking on Detroit. We've got Detroit 1-point home favorites, 239.5 being the total in this game. When you look at these two teams, certainly they've been two of the worst teams in the NBA, certainly in the Eastern Conference. Charlotte's lost 2 in a row against Chicago and Milwaukee. It's a back-to-back for the Hornets going into this game after the loss last night. You do have a very well-rested Detroit Pistons team coming off a 6-point loss on the road to Dallas. I took the points with Detroit that night. That was back on Monday, and they ended up getting the point spread cover pretty much wire to wire. They led a good portion of that game, and Dallas ended up coming back to win the game, mostly thanks to one of many ridiculous performances lately from Luka Doncic. 53 points he had in that win over Detroit. Pistons now back home. They've gone back and forth between home games and road games here, each of the last 4 games. But, definite rest advantage for Detroit here going into this game. It looks like for them, Bagley out, Corey Joseph out. On the Charlotte side, Kelly Oubre and Cody Martin out, Dennis Smith game time decision. But, the main pieces are there. LaMelo's going to play, Rozier, Hayward, Washington, Plumlee expected to be the starting 5 in this one. Based on the situation here, Detroit, just asking them to win the game, I'd probably go that way. I mean, I'm definitely not in a rush to take Charlotte on a back-to-back here on the road, third road game in 4 nights for this team as well, which isn't exactly a great spot. You certainly could make a case for the over. These two teams have played one high-scoring shootout after another head-to-head, 4 straight overs head-to-head with the Hornets versus the Pistons. So Detroit over would probably be the ways I would go in this basketball game. Skee, we'll start with you. What do you think here, Charlotte and Detroit?
Yeah, shout out to the comment section. I see there's one comment says Skee finally got some sleep that I did. And then another one says Skee needs a drink. So maybe, they like it when I'm like that a little bit. So, might switch it up from time to time. And you laid this one out pretty well. I'll just say Pistons, they have all this rest advantage because of the travel issues, right?
Yeah, they had a game postponed due to ice storm the other night. Washed out their game against, I think it was Washington. Yep.
Right. And then just looking at lately, last 2 weeks at least, Pistons have only won 1 game. Like, this is not a team that I want to be laying points with or to be expected to win in any game. They also have a game tomorrow, and I just feel like the Hornets been playing a little bit better lately. Definitely the better defensive team, the better rebounding team. If I look at all the categories I care about, those recent performance stats, last 5 games, Detroit is bottom 10 in all of them. So I don't really care that it's a back-to-back for the Hornets. This team is really young. And it was some quotes coming out of there that, it just seems like a team that's actually trying. So I'll take I'll take the Hornets on a money line at plus 105 price. I think they get it done today.
One thing Detroit does not have going for them is they have not been good on the home floor. So rest advantage, yeah. And Charlotte back-to-back, yeah. But certainly the home floor, Detroit has not been – they haven't won a home game in a long time. We'll see if they can correct that here tonight in this one. What do you think here, Billy? Hornets, Pistons.
Yeah, there's a lot to like in this game. I kept my card very short today. We got some MMA later on tonight. So, the card's going to be real strict today, but I really do like the Hornets tonight. They've been playing better basketball late. They're not resting any players tonight on the second half of the back-to-back, and that's exactly what you want to see. You got guys like Gordon Hayward coming back from injury and stuff like that, LaMelo Ball coming back from injury, and they're not resting tonight. So that shows that they actually want to win a ball game. They're 5-2 ATS last 7 games, 6-1 ATS last 7 meetings in Detroit. and 12-5 ATS last 17 meetings head-to-head. And the Pistons are 0-5 in their last 5 home games, 3-8 ATS last 11 games overall. There's a lot to like for the Hornets on this side, and I like a couple props on the Hornets side. Leading the way, Terry Rozier over 2.5 3-pointers, minus 122. Talked about this one. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. He's gone over his 3-point prop 4 out of his last 6 games, and he covered last night with 23 points, despite only shooting 8 for 21 from the field. And then on the Pistons side, Saddiq Bey's been scoring some buckets, over 16.5 points, minus 115. He's gone over 16.5 points, 7 out of his last 10 games. And this is a good matchup for him. He's been taking more of the usage for the Pistons, and deservedly so, because they got to develop some of their young guys out there. And Saddiq Bey's been dominating a lot of the usage, kind of filling in the Jeremy Grant role of recent years.
Yeah, definitely is. Bay props are good. Rozier probably worth a look. We'll see but he's been trending pretty good with some of his numbers lately as well. So some prop options definitely. And when you get a total at around 240, those are sometimes good games to be betting props. All right, next up, we've got Portland, Washington. The Wizards, 3.5-point home favorites, 236 the total in this one. Portland, of course, enters this game off a surprising win, I guess you could say, against Memphis, 122-112. 5.5-point dogs. They beat the Grizzlies outright in Memphis, which is one hell of a great accomplishment because we know how good they've been at home this year. The Memphis Grizzlies, they haven't been playing as good lately, but still, to beat them at home is pretty impressive by the Blazers. We'll see if they can follow that up. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. I'm still trying to figure out how they played so poorly against the Raptors, who were on a back-to-back. But, other than that one hiccup, they've played really well lately, and it's been led, of course, by the magical wizardry, if you will, no pun intended, of Damian Lillard for the Blazers, who's been just terrific. Washington on the flip side, let's not sleep on what they've been doing. 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread here for the Wizards entering this game, playing great basketball, beating some good teams as well. Dallas, Orlando's played better lately. They beat the Knicks. They beat the Pelicans. Not so much San Antonio, their last game, but they drilled them 127-106. Definitely it's a Washington team playing really well. They're as healthy as they've been all year. Looks like Portland will have Jeremy Grant, Eubanks, Simons, a couple guys that have been banged up but are all good to go. The big injury, though, of course, is Yusuf Nurkic for the Blazers. Sidelined through the All-Star break, MRI revealing a left calf injury. So they're going to be cautious with him and just sit him out until after the All-Star break. And that's a big deal here in this matchup when you got to deal with the big guy, Kristaps Porzingis, in this matchup here. So, Porzingis might be worth a look with his props in this game. Portland's been impressive, but I don't know if I want to step in front of Washington. Do I want to lay 3.5? I think it's on the fence for me, but I'd lean Washington here a little bit in this game. Total's been hammered up, too, up to 237. What do you think here, Skee? Blazers, Wizards?
Yeah, I forgot to say I like Mason Plumlee over 10.5 rebounds tonight in the previous game. For this one, I don't have much to say, but I'm not going against the Wizards the way they've been playing lately. I'll just continue to ride them until they fall off.
There we go. Wizards are nothing for Skee. Billy, what do you think here? Blazers, Wizards?
Yeah, like the way you broke down the game, Babano, I have a lot of the same type of feelings. I mean, the Blazers are only 1-8 ATS last 9 road games, and what was the one cover against the Grizzlies, right, the other night? Or something.
It was. Like that was the one, and it smells like a letdown spot for an inconsistent. Like this team is, what's their record? They're not even 500. Doesn't it feel like after a win like that, they crash back down to earth? They're not the kind of team that I trust to have consistency, especially on the road, one game to the next.
Yeah, the only thing that's going in their favor is that they are 5-0 ATS last 5 meetings in Washington, but maybe those are just some sucky Washington teams from the years past. But
yeah,
or maybe Dame. I think the only thing that could save the Blazers here in this spot is the way the Wizards cover guards. The way they're covering guards right now is not efficient for Damian Lillard the way he likes to play basketball. If you're not going to double team him or try to double team him, I mean, how far out are you going to try to bring out the double team off the screen? The Wizards have been getting toasted by guards. That would be my only hesitancy in this spot, but I lean towards the Wizards. I mean, they haven't really played since Monday. They're rested. They're fully healthy. I mean, it's first time I remember looking at the Wizards roster with Kuzma, Porzingis, and Beal all in the starting 5 in a very long time. So Wizards are passed, but I'm probably going to pass on this one.
Yeah, like I say, I think Porzingis as well in some form, points and rebounds, PRA, something like that, worth a look here tonight as well for the Washington side. All right, Sacramento and Indiana. We've got Sacramento 3.5-point road favorites, 233.5 the total. Total's been bet down significantly in this one. Interesting spot here. You've got Sacramento coming off a 119-105 win against the Spurs. It's their second win in a row. They beat Minnesota in the back end of the 2 straight games they played against the Timberwolves after they dropped the first one. And they played, of course, Wednesday night, whereas Indiana played that down to the wire, very intense, dramatic affair last night against the Lakers, and they come up on the losing end and the short end of the stick there, 112-111 to the Lakers last night. Give the Lakers credit. They got off to a sluggish first half start, but a really excellent fourth quarter, outscoring plus 13 were the Lakers in points in the fourth quarter to erase a double-digit deficit and come back and beat the Pacers last night. Tough loss for Indiana. You wonder how they bounce back here now on a second night of a back-to-back situation. Worth noting this year, the Pacers actually don't have terrible numbers on back-to-back this year. 6-4 straight up, 5-5 against the spread. So it's been a wash, pretty much even if you've been betting them on the second night of a back-to-back. But the key injury, of course, is Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers. We've seen on full display before what they're like without him. He played last night against the Lakers, but again, he's battling a knee issue. He's got an elbow that's banged up, a knee that's banged up. He was out for 3 weeks because of those knee and elbow sprains. Came back to action last night, and he played pretty well. 26 points, 12 assists, double-double, 36 minutes. But because this is a back-to-back, the Pacers don't want to push him just as he's coming back from those 2 injuries. So they're opting to probably be cautious and rest him tonight against Sacramento. It's pretty difficult to bet Indiana, quite honestly, without him because we've just seen the track record. And you factor in Sacramento, certainly fresher coming into this game. So I understand the move on Sacramento. Am I crazy about laying the points with Sacramento? No, but I don't want Indiana. So that's where I'm at here. Skee, what do you think? Kings and Pacers.
I agree. Even though, now I look at it, they're 7-2 as a road favorite. So they've been winning by some kind of margin this year, a little bit different of a Kings team. But without De'Aaron Fox, I don't know how much I want to put my money on it. I do know they are going to take this game seriously just because, the leader for tonight's Sabonis. I think it's his first time back in Indiana. And if he's leading and he's taking it serious, the troops will follow. And also, their coach has just challenged them to, I think, win their 4th game in a row, something like that.
Yep.
So I think this game means a lot to them, but I probably prefer to just play the first quarter just because how bad Pacers have been all year in the first quarter, and especially with Halliburton if he's out. So Kings first quarter or Kings full game are the way to go for me.
All right, Kings first quarter, Kings full game here in this one for Skee. And yeah, definitely that angle always is one to consider. Player going back to his old stomping grounds to face his old team, and you would expect definitely a great effort from the big guy, Domantas Sabonis, in that paint area tonight for the Kings. What do you think here in this one, Billy?
It's hard to really read in between the lines of Halliburton because, on paper, you would think he would sit the second half of a back-to-back, but, it's against his former team, so there could be some motivational spot here. But either way, regardless if Halliburton plays or not, I like the Kings. I think the Halliburton really affects Davion Mitchell's minutes. If Halliburton's in, I can see them playing Davion Mitchell a lot more, but if he's out, I think he's got obviously get the start, but I don't think he's going to be pushing that 35 to 40-minute threshold or something like that. But even though the Pacers are 7-3 ATS in their last 10 home games, they're only 1-8 ATS last 9 overall. Kings 5-1 ATS last 6 road games and 8-3-1 ATS last 12 overall. Lean towards the Kings covering, and prop wise, I like Kevin Huerter over 14.5 points, minus 115. He's been cold on their first couple games of this road trip, but without Fox, he gets a usage bump. In all 3 games without Fox, he's gone over playing big minutes, and this should be a good little spot for him. Pacers are pretty soft defensively at that position, so Kevin Huerter over 14.5 points.
It's stuff indeed. Keegan Murray, by the way, on a little bit of a run with rebounds and assists too. So prop to keep an eye on there as well in this game. Next up, we've got Phoenix and Boston. The Celtics, 10.5-point home favorites, 220 the total in this game. The Suns, obviously, there's a lot of rumblings going on. This is a team that's languishing a little bit. One game above 500. It's hard to believe, but it's not like this roster has been uprooted completely from the team that was in the NBA Finals 2 years ago and was the number one seed in the West last year. But, I mean, you just see it on the body language of this team, especially that Atlanta game the other night where there's no emotion, there's no passion, there's no intensity out there. It looked like a bunch of guys playing individualistic basketball. Nobody was enjoying being out there. No competitive spirit, or there was nobody shaking the team up or in a scrum during a whistle and a timeout saying, let's get our shit together. They look like a comatose team out there the other night, and they definitely have real chemistry issues. I think there's a bunch of people that are disgruntled, a bunch of people that are upset, and if DeAndre Ayton probably one of them. Chris Paul, did he even play the other night? Couldn't find him with a telescope on the basketball court. And usually if the team's getting beaten down like that, Chris Paul will try to, wrangle the troops together and let's get going, boys, something like that. We never didn't see anything like that the other night against Atlanta. That was ugly. 132-100, losing like that on your home floor to the Atlanta Hawks, who have been as erratic and inconsistent as it gets. So now we're going to trust this team going on the road, where we've seen them, barely beat San Antonio on the road in overtime, get crushed by Memphis by 30. On the road just recently, a few weeks ago. No, not me. Can't back him, even getting this many points. Now, probably not going to take Boston either. We are laying a lot here in this game, and they've not been great point spread-wise lately, 1-6 ATS. But if I had to, I'd probably lean Celtics here. They did beat down Brooklyn on Wednesday night, 139-96. Very, very impressive win there, wire-to-wire point spread and straight-up win for the Celtics. Celtics, by the way, the last two times they've hosted Phoenix, they've won by double digits, a 13 and a 15-point win. So maybe they do cover this number here, but Phoenix is just now the rumblings too. They might be in on Irving, but I don't know. I don't think anything Kyrie Irving does if he were to go to Phoenix is going to fix these obvious problems and chemistry issues they seem to have. So yeah, Phoenix is a bit of a toxic team right now. Not one I'm looking at backing, that's for sure. What do you think here, Skee? Suns, Celtics?
I would not be laying or expecting the Celtics to win by double digits when they've only covered one game like the last 2 weeks or so. I just need to see a little bit more consistency before I lay those kind of points. So for that reason, leaning towards the Phoenix Suns plus the 10.5 points. And as far as the total, I agree with the market pushing it down to the under for a couple different reasons. I'm not going to read the entire system here, or I'll just say the concept is both of these teams, as far as the points that they score in the splits, Boston at home, Phoenix on the road, it's a lot more than what this total is that we're looking at today. So that tells me that it's low for a reason. The market has continued to push it down. I know that Phoenix also has a game tomorrow, and road teams on the front end of a back-to-back have been a little bit under 58% to the under. Under has hit 4 of the last 5 times these teams have played each other. And just looking at what they've been doing lately, both of them are bottom 10 in pace the last 5 games. Boston, top 10 defensive rated team in that same span. And I think Boston is good enough defensively on the perimeter that Phoenix is not going to get that many open looks from 3. And I'm just hoping that Phoenix can play some good enough defense on their end from the perimeter to stop Boston from launching as well. And I like this game under. So that's my play as far as what's actually in my pocket. And just a lean to the Suns plus the 10.5 or whatever it is now.
Yeah, it is. It's 10.5 pretty much across the board. Just a lean under is what Skee is liking. That's looked at here, the under with the Suns and the Celtics in this. You'd like to think that this team, after getting absolutely embarrassed by Atlanta, will show up tonight, but they've not been good on the road. Now they don't have Cam Johnson either. Cam Johnson's out. They want to, be careful with him. His knee injury. They think he's kind of struggled since he's come back from that. So he's out. Devin Booker's still out, of course, goes without saying. And they miss Cam Payne too. Cameron Payne, averages 12.1 points per game for this squad. And there's no doubt they're missing his presence right now as well, Phoenix. So tough sledding for them. We'll see if they respond tonight here in Beantown. What do you think here, Billy? Phoenix and Boston.
Yeah, a little bit of narrative on this one. The Celtics had the vets come in, KG, Paul Pierce, and the boys. They all came in, stayed at the last practice for the Celtics. So I would imagine they'll probably be in attendance for this home game tonight, and they're probably going to want to show out for the guys. I mean, they're 1-6 ATS last 7 games, like you said, 2-5 ATS last 7 home games. So I kind of don't feel too comfortable laying it with the Celtics, but I think they do end up covering that 9.5. I wouldn't want to bet the Suns +9. I mean, it feels like kind of like the same scenario against the Nets. I mean, like everybody wanted to bet the Nets +9, and then Celtics blew those boys off the floor. Cam Johnson isn't going to play tonight. That could be big for the Suns. I probably think Dario Saric gets a boost in minutes, and I don't think this is a good thing for the Phoenix Suns. One prop I do like in this game, Jason Tatum over 8.5 rebounds. He's gone over 8.5 rebounds in 5 straight home games and 9 out of his last 10 games overall. So it's a prop that's been cashing. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind putting that in any of my tickets.
All right, we got Toronto and Houston now next up on the slate. It is Toronto 7.5, 8-point road favorites, 224 the total. Raptors have taken money. Under has taken money as well in this one. Houston's actually gone under in 4 straight games all of a sudden. Don't look now, but their defense has improved a little bit. They cost me a little bit the other night against Oklahoma City as they beat the Thunder 112-106 on Wednesday night, winning outright as home dogs. They went outright on the road as dogs at Detroit in their last game. So we've seen a couple better performances here from this Rockets team. KPJ, Kevin Porter, still out for the Houston Rockets going into the game tonight. Jabari Smith, he's on the injury report, questionable with a hip injury for the Rockets as well. And it looks like Jalen Green is already been ruled out for the game tonight, although Jalen Green's missed the last couple games as well. So worth noting, the OKC and the Detroit games that Houston won, Jalen Green didn't play in those games either. So they've shown that they can play without him. The bottom line is I'm not laying 8 with Toronto. I understand the move and that, the Rockets have some injuries that you're concerned about. But this has been a long and grueling road trip now for the Raptors. It started in Sacramento a week ago. It started on Wednesday of last week, I believe. Yeah, Wednesday. So you look at the way this trip has gone for this team. This is going to be for them their 9th day on this road trip, and it's going to be their 6th game. Think about that. This is going to be their 6th game in 9 days for this Raptors team on this road trip. They've gone from Sacramento to Golden State to Portland on a back-to-back, then to Phoenix, then to the Utah Jazz on Wednesday. And, yeah, you're talking 6 road games in 9 nights, 6 games in a row with travel and a court change. I can't imagine the Raptors are exactly fresh as a daisy going into this game tonight. They're still missing, obviously, OG Anunoby, another player linked heavily in trade rumors right now. It's just not a spot, not a team in form that I'm really saying, yeah, let's lay 8 on the road, even against one of the absolute worst teams in the NBA. I think it's a little dicey to be doing that. So it's a tough game. Houston's actually covered 2 in a row against the Raptors. I should point that out as well. They were both in Toronto. Toronto did smack them here in Houston, 139-120 last year, but Houston has actually covered 3 of the last 4 against the Raptors. So it'd be dog before favorite for me in this one, even with the absence of Green and even with the question marks regarding Jabari Smith for this game. What do you think here in this one, Skee? Raptors, Rockets?
Yeah, you mentioned those injuries, and with Houston playing tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised to even see some other people sit out or whatever the case may be. I just think the line is kind of telling to me. I mean, I get what you're saying about the Raptors, but I feel like they're going to be the more hungry team tonight. They're off 2 losses. I think they're going to try to end this road trip strong versus Rockets team who is just, what is that? I don't know what the term is. Is it fat and happy, fat and sassy, whatever they say?
They could be.
But,
yep.
Yeah, they've won a couple games, and they're a bottom feeder team that's not even really trying to win. So I will be going with the team who I feel is more hungry, which is the Raptors, and that's who I'll bet tonight.
All right, like in the Raptors here. I mean, to be honest, we've ragged on Toronto's road record all year, 8-18, but Houston at home is 8-17. So, it's pretty much a wash with that. If you're going to look at that, and you're right, Toronto's probably still better. It's just a question of does all the traveling catch up to them? They are taking a step down in class. This has been a tough road trip in terms of the quality of opponent too. Sacramento, Golden State. Portland's, better than Houston. Phoenix, obviously, Phoenix has had issues, but they're still better than Houston. Utah's, always never an easy game. And so this will be the easiest opponent on this trip so far for Toronto. Maybe they take advantage of it. What do you think here, Billy?
Lean towards the Raptors, 5-2 ATS, last 7 games following a loss. They haven't really been that good on the road, but the Rockets aren't that good of a home team like you were talking about. The Rockets are going to be without Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, and Jabari Smith is on the questionable list. More than likely will probably be out. One of my favorite props today, Kenyon Martin, over 6.5 rebounds, -134. He's gone over 6.5 rebounds 8 out of his last 9 games since becoming the starter. And he's been smashing his points and rebounds prop too since becoming the starter last 9 games. He's been averaging 23.5 points and rebounds, second half of a back-to-back. Probably could get more minutes. Him and Torrey Eason are probably going to be the 3 and the 4 tonight. And Kenyon Martin's rebound prop a little bit too low.
All right, good stuff indeed. All right, next up we've got Orlando and Minnesota. We've got Minnesota 4.5-point home favorites. The total in this one currently at 229.5, pretty much across the board. Keep in mind with Minnesota, there's always question marks regarding Rudy Gobert. Towns is still out. He ain't coming back anytime soon. But for Gobert, it's been every single recent game questionable. Some games he's played. Last game against Golden State, he did not due to that groin. He's questionable tonight for Minnesota in this game. They are coming off a wild one against the Golden State Warriors the other night. 119-114 victory in overtime for the Timberwolves. Timberwolves are playing better. There's no doubt. They've won 4 of the last 5. And covered 4 of the last 5. The only loss during that span was the second of the back-to-back against Sacramento, where they lost in overtime, 118-111. So, yeah, they're playing better. Make no mistake about that. Orlando comes in after splitting 2 games on the road against the Philadelphia 76ers. They won the first game, 119-109, and then in the rematch on Wednesday, the Sixers returned the favor, 105-94. In that one. We'll see if the Magic bounce back tonight here, taking on this Minnesota Timberwolves team. They played earlier this year in Orlando, and Minnesota ran over Orlando 126-108. That was back in November, though, and that was before the Orlando Magic started to turn their season around and started to play better basketball. It was really December when Orlando started to get going and go on this little bit of a run, especially a point spread run. So this is going to be a different challenge here for Minnesota. An exhausting, intense game with Golden State the other night. This is not let's lay points with the Minnesota type of spot. Not to me, at least. So I like Orlando here. And, I'm always keen on taking this team, especially plus points. I actually took them Monday against Philly. I didn't expect the outright win, but they got it done. I think getting the 4.5 or the 5 with them in this spot is a good bet. It was 5 when I bet it earlier today. It's down to 4.5. I still like it at the current number. Magic on the road here, catching points. What do you think here, Skee? Orlando, Minnesota.
I like the under most in this game. Just looking at what they've been doing with the home road splits all year long, 30 combined 33 and 23 to the under. And if you look at the last 2 weeks, combined 8-2 to the under. Looking at the offensive rating last 5 games, both bottom 10. Minnesota is actually the best defensive rated team in the last 5 games, and neither team is really good shooting at 3, and the Magic are top 5 defending at 3. So I was just adding it up, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of style, and I came up with under 230.
All right, liking the under here in this one with Magic and the Timberwolves for Skee. Billy, what do you think here, Orlando, Minnesota?
Yeah, I think I want to lay off the sides and go to the prop market. I like Anthony Edwards over 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists, -115 at Bet365. He's gone over his PRA in 16 out of his last 25 games with a 31.7% usage rating, which is one of the higher in the leagues. Orlando really struggles against guard and wing players. In November, Edwards had 49 points, rebounds, and assists in their first matchup versus the Magic, and that was with Towns in the lineup. And this could also be a little bit of an all-star narrative snub here. T-Wolves are the only team in either conference in the top 6 that didn't have an all-star this year. Last year, the day after the all-star reserves were announced, Anthony Edwards went for 45 points, rebounds, and assists. So I think he has a little bit of vengeance in his heart tonight at home.
All right, next up, we continue along here. We got Philly and San Antonio. Sixers, 9.5, 10-point road favorites, 234. The total in this one. The line's gone up slightly on Philadelphia. Makes you think Embiid's playing tonight, but still officially listed as questionable with the foot issue. He did play both window games. I think he's going to play. We haven't seen anything to tell us otherwise. And the line, like I said, has gone up slightly toward Philadelphia here in this one. The Sixers, 13-9 straight up. They're only 500 on the road. They're not exactly a team I'm ever comfortable laying double digits with on the road, but I don't think there's a case to be made, at least in my opinion, for San Antonio. 0-6 straight up, 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games. If you've been fading them, even as home dogs catching points, you've been doing well. They've been poor in that role lately. Phoenix, Washington, Sacramento, 3 straight games on this homestand. They've gone 0-3, both straight up and ATS. I just don't want to lay this many, though, with Philly. So it's a clear pass for me. No part of it do I want. What do you think here in this one, Skee? Sixers, Spurs?
Yeah, it's really just, fade the bottom feeder, fade the Spurs here is how I feel. They've not won a game the last 2 weeks. They're losing by an average of 16 points per game. So I'm just going to look at it as who's going to win. Philly's been obviously better in all the categories that I care about. And if I just look at I just feel like teams go in different directions. I always say that kind of thing, but equally rested home dogs off back-to-back double-digit losses versus an opponent off a double-digit win, which this is a Spurs for today. They are 20-36, 35.7% since 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and fade them. I think Sixers win this one easily. People in the chat mentioned a lot of snubs and stuff like that. Yeah, I know, Siakam was somebody they were talking about earlier, and they're saying Harden for this game. He didn't.
I don't think Harden cares.
Well, we'll find out.
Tune in to find out, yeah.
Yeah, I think they get the job done. I won't be on Harden props, but I'll be on the Sixers to get the job done by margin.
All right, laying it here with Philly for Skee. All right, Billy, what do you think here, Philly, San Antonio?
The only snubs that I really think they're valid on this slate, I would say, would be like Anthony Edwards. We'll talk about the one in the next game. I think Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. I mean, I was watching a podcast with him and Gilbert Arenas, and DeJounte Murray was talking about being snubbed from the All-Star game a couple years ago and what it was like. So, I mean, he definitely thinks about it. But for this game, though, I do like the Sixers, man. I mean, if you look at the Spurs injury report, I mean, they're going to be missing Trey Jones, Romeo Langford, Jeremy Shohan, and Devin Vessel tonight. Who the fuck is starting at point guard for them tonight? I mean, RotoWire says Josh Richardson, Branham, Keldon Johnson, Cates Diop, and Puddle is going to be their lineup. I mean, that's complete dog shit. I mean, I don't care if Embiid plays or not. I think the Sixers blow him out. If Embiid does play, this is a great spot for him. I lean towards his over 44.5 points and rebounds, -120. He's absolutely shredded Puddle in the past 2 seasons and 3 games, 36.5 points and 12.3 rebounds. So Embiid's grading out really well tonight. And I think the Sixers smack him up regardless if he plays or not.
And you mentioned this being a theory after the All-Star teams are announced, either betting on the team, but specifically from a player props perspective, betting the player that got snubbed. There's a bunch tonight that fit that. You mentioned Edwards. You could even make a case Siakam for the Raptors, and there's a bunch. There's definitely one in this next game, Mr. Trae Young for the Atlanta Hawks here as they take on the Utah Jazz. Utah 1.5 point home favorites in this game, and the total sitting at 242. Across the board. Hey, I mean, I already bet the over in this game, and I knew it was probably going to go up even when it opened at 240. I think when I got it, it was I'm just trying to see on the my account here. Yeah, it's 241 when I took it. 242 pretty much now across the board. still like it. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of points. I think Trae Young in particular, not only has he got an advantageous matchup here, but I think he's also going to be someone that's going to want to prove a little bit of a point tonight here, early and often against Utah in terms of the All-Star game omission. So I think you'll see him play pretty well offensively. I mean, that's definitely what I like here in this game is the over more than either side. I'll give Atlanta credit. It was a great performance, a dominant destruction they had over Phoenix the other night. Sometimes we worry about consistency, though, with this team. Keep in mind the last time they won, they played the Knicks. Then they lost the next game. They played the Thunder after. They got a win against OKC. They lost the next game against the Clippers. So they got to still show me they can put two in a row together in terms of good performances. Utah, at home has been getting the job done. They beat Charlotte, Dallas, and Toronto, 3 straight wins and covers at home. So you don't want to sell the Jazz short, even though we still keep waiting for this Jazz team to fall off here at some point. So I think it's a tricky game from a side perspective, but I like points, and more points over the total for me in this one, and the total's right now at 242. What do you think here, Skee? Atlanta, Utah?
Yeah, I know they want to see this thing at least one time today, so back with this motherfucker, man.
All right.
Yeah, we know we see that the backwood display a ton with Dutch on the show. But you're right. Even without Dutch, it would have been weird to go through the whole show without one single backwood. But that's no longer the case as Skee puts the backwood on the mantle here for this nightcap here with Atlanta and Utah. Billy, what do you think here, Hawks Jazz?
Love the Hawks in this spot. They're 5-1 ATS, last 6 road games, 7-3 ATS, last 10 games overall. The Jazz are 5-1 ATS, last 6 home games, 6-2 ATS, last 8 overall. And, they owned them in the head-to-head matchup. They won 7 straight versus them. So we're getting a motivated Hawks team on paper tonight. And what better way to get revenge from the All-Star game than playing in the actual stadium that the All-Star game is going to be played at tonight. And then continue down this narrative streak we go. We got some national holidays today. Today's National Wear Red Day, Feeds the Birds Day, and the National Day the Music Died Day. I don't know what more signs the script had to say, but we're rocking with the Hawks tonight.
All right, liking the Atlanta Hawks here, +1.5 here against the Utah Jazz. On all things considered, we think with both of these teams fully healthy, Atlanta's a little bit better. But, and this is as healthy as they've been all year. There's nobody on the injury list. There's really not anybody on the injury list of significance for Utah. Micah Potter's just an end-of-the-bench guy for them. But Atlanta, everybody's healthy. So no excuses now. They've got a chance maybe to put some wins together, get on a little bit of a streak. We'll see if they can do that here, put 2 in a row on the board in Utah tonight against the Jazz. Great stuff with Skee and with Billy Briz on this Friday. 279 live viewers. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And make sure you stick around right after this show because it'll be Dabby Cab and Connor Mack with college basketball. Net Profit, the Friday edition, coming up right after this show. We'll get to Best Bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping with promo code PUBSports. Yes, Dan Kelly, this is the anniversary of that horrible plane crash with those artists from back in the day. Only I would probably remember them, or you and I maybe, but Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Big Bopper, they were good back in their day. Yep. it happened a lot. There were multiple artists killed in plane crashes those 2 decades, 50s and 60s. Sad shit, no doubt. All right, best bets to wrap it up here for this Friday edition of the NBA Pub Hub. Skee, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I'm gonna go. They're still underdogs, right? Or at least short dogs. I'm gonna go with Hornets plus whatever they'll give you, or just take them on the money line.
There you go, Hornets. Take your pick. +1 money line, either one against the Detroit Pistons. Charlotte gets it done, says Skee. That's his best bet here for this Friday show. Billy Briz, what do you got? Best bet?
Yeah, 2 best bets for me tonight. One side, one prop. Best bet is going to be Atlanta Hawks +105 tonight. And favorite prop tonight is going to be Kenyon Martin over 6.5 rebounds at FanDuel -134. You're getting a 25-cent difference market price wise.
There you go. One prop and one side on the Atlanta Hawks against Utah. There you go. Best bets for Billy Briz on the Friday edition of the NBA Pub Hub. My best bet, look, this team's been so good in this best bet role multiple times for me, and we're going back to the well tonight. Orlando Magic +4.5 against Minnesota. Very live road dog. Disappointing second game against Philadelphia, but this team was good enough to beat Philadelphia in Philly the game before that. Their A game is good enough to hang and maybe even win tonight in Minnesota. Orlando +4.5. Best bet for me on this Friday card. That'll wrap up this edition of the NBA Pub Up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. Another great week of shows. We'll be back, of course, on Monday with the OG Monday edition of the NBA Pub Up. It'll be me, Skee, Dutch, and Wham as usual on a Monday. Of course, we've got Net Profit College Basketball, Cab and Connor Mack coming up. And I'll be back with the two of them tomorrow morning for College Basketball Pub Up, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. There's a UFC stream tomorrow. There's NFL, Pub Up Super Bowl edition next Tuesday. Baseball previews with Sharpie and crew next week. Lots coming up here on the channel. So make sure you stay tuned in to Pub Sports Radio. And Pub-A-Palooza, too, in a couple of months, March 24th to 26th. As the countdown continues toward that. All right, great stuff with Billy Briz, Skee Profit. Everyone in the chat, hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate you tuning in. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday night, great weekend. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again Monday right here for the NBA Pub Up right here on Pub Sports Radio.